Hi, everybody. It's Thursday, Wandering Seth, although maybe it's Friday where you are. Joy guessed correctly, hair down, no glasses. I promised you 3 live streams, and it's going to happen. This is today's, and I'll be doing tomorrow's at noon. Tomorrow's live stream will be at noon. This week has flown by, Kay Walton. Happy Pride Month to everybody. I'm glad you like my shirt, Danny. This is my comic book themed shirt. And earlier today I was filming Spider-Verse content, which will be going up today and tomorrow. So I'm very excited. Lots of cool stuff happening. There were a couple of, there's a lot of little, I think that's slow news right now. So there's a lot of stuff percolating that's kind of nothing. So I chose stories that I felt were legitimately stories, but you of course can ask me anything that you would like during the Q&A section of the video. My hair is the same as always, but thank you for asking. All right, so it's very sunny. That's one of the reasons that the stream is so late. I was trying to I had to film before the sun came. I had to finally use my shades. I picked, the shades on my windows to try and not have too much glare. It's been crazy. But yeah, Black Adam was trending today, which is why I picked him for one of the stories. It was going to be a whole story on live action adaptations. And I was going to talk about them, teasing a live action Miles Morales. Maybe we'll talk about that on tomorrow's live stream, because I don't know how much news is going to happen between now and noon tomorrow. But for today, so nobody asked me about that today, because that might be tomorrow's story. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. So today we're going to talk about this stuff. And we're going to start with, Dwayne Johnson. He's been having an existential crisis ever since the Black Adam situation. I think it shook him to his core, and he's having a hard time recovering. Yes, what trended today? Not Hobbs, not Fast X, but Black Adam. Because I think people are surprised that he hasn't been able to recover from that. It is the DC curse, Kay Walton. Although I haven't seen it hit anyone as hard in a while as it hit Dwayne Johnson. I think because it just kind of he bet so much on it, which I would advise anybody from placing all their chips on one square. Hey, Mr. F, thanks for gifting those memberships. That's very generous of you. Patty Jenkins. Yeah, the list goes on. It's pretty bad. It's DC's hurt a lot of people. Boy, the pain is still going for poor Dwayne Johnson. I also think that, he reminds me a little bit, interestingly, of Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews did not like being a wholesome persona, which, of course, Mary Poppins and Sound of Music will do to you. So she spent the majority of her career after that trying to break away from that image. And everybody was like, I don't want to see Mary Poppins do that. And I feel like Dwayne Johnson wants to be a little edgier. I didn't appreciate his lay joke, I was like, come on, man. I mean, I guess he's, Lady Jennifer Snow, also very generous. Oh, thank you, Your Highness. I appreciate that. I like your name. But I feel like, once the public decides who they think you are, you should be so lucky that the public would have an opinion on you. Oh, Dustin, look at the generosity today. You guys are blowing me away. I gift 5 memberships every Monday or every first stream of the week. And the fact that I did it because I was so moved by your generosity, and you continue to move me. Poke, we saw that. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I don't know how you get around the spam guarding, Poke. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Allison Acidland, I appreciate the flowers. That's very sweet. All right, so good night, Regenerator in Brazil. It is very late for some of you. I try to have the streams around 3 or 4 o'clock, but I was, I got off to a late start today, unfortunately. I got very little sleep the night before. I apologize. All right. Bartleby. Bartleby's back. Bartleby, one of the most generous members of the BTT community, and still the case. But all donations, anything that you do is of course very appreciated. Happy Pride Month to you too, Dimitri. All right, so back to what we were talking about. Dwayne Johnson's like, no, let's talk about something else. Nope, sorry, Dwayne. I feel bad. Poor Dwayne Johnson. So anyway, I'm going to focus now. I appreciate the comment, Gamer, but I'm going to focus right now on the stories. And then, when I open up the comment section, that's the best time to have your comments so that I can address them. Okay? All right, so Dwayne Johnson, I didn't appreciate the inappropriate joke. It feels off-brand for me. Maybe it comes from his wrestling days, but to me, that's not who Dwayne Johnson is. I guess I respect him wanting to be him, if that's who he feels he is. But if I were his publicist, I'd say I wouldn't do the jokes. All right, so anyway, I can't repeat the joke. It's on Twitter. It's the lei joke about a Hawaiian lei, but he used obviously what else the word could be. All right, so it was something he wrote in the Twitter comments. Because what was he doing? He was on social media today announcing that he is going to do another Hobbs movie. And I think everybody was like, what? Why would you do another Hobbs movie? I think Dwayne Johnson, he claims to really know what the people want. But yet, he consistently, I think, does what the people don't want. And so this would be his third time, because we're going to talk about Moana, the live-action Moana as well. But he said he was going to make a Black Adam movie, and everybody very clearly said, we don't want it. And he's like, no, I'm doing it anyway. And everybody was like, well, shocker, we didn't go and see it. Then, I'm glad he returned to the Fast and Furious franchise. I think that was a good idea for him. I'm glad he and Vin Diesel buried the hatchet. However, I think that I just want to see him in the next Fast 11 movie. I do not need another Hobbs movie. I don't even know if Shaw's going to be in it. It's just going to be another Hobbs movie. It is written by Chris Morgan, who is the quintessential Fast and Furious screenwriter, so I feel a little bit bad about that. I feel a little bit better about his involvement. But, and also I have to say, Hobbs and Shaw was not a bad movie, but it didn't feel like a Fast and Furious movie to me. It felt very much like a Dwayne Johnson movie. Dwayne Johnson is not great at disappearing into roles, which is fine as long as he isn't overexposed. I enjoy Dwayne Johnson quite a bit. I'm a fan. But I feel like, if there's too much of him, it always just seems like too much of the same thing. And so I think that, you have to be careful about that. So when he came back to the franchise in Fast X as a surprise, if you haven't seen Fast X by now, everyone's been talking about this. There's plenty of other surprises for you. But everybody was like, oh, great, we'll have a really big blowout for Fast 11, and then probably this franchise is going to take a break. And that's the trilogy I guess Vin Diesel was hinting at, because now it's going to go Fast X, some Hobbs movie, and then we're going to go to Fast 11. And everyone's like, no, I just want to go direct to Fast 11. Let's do a poll. Anyone can vote in a poll. A poll is open to everybody, not just members. So let's see. So how do you feel? Poke, don't spoil all of the Fast X stuff. Come on, Poke. Poke, don't make me put you in a timeout. You're such a nice person. I love your enthusiasm and your support, but please don't be abusive. You somehow got around the spam feature. I'm trying real hard to be appreciative here. Okay, so how do you feel about this Fast and Furious trilogy? So, Fast X, Hobbs, and Fast 11, yay. Then we'll do I Just Want Fast 11, and then I Don't Care. So those are your three. Your three choices. Hey, Matt. Those are your three choices, okay? So I personally just want Fast, although I don't care, is winning very quickly. But that's the other thing that surprises me. Fast X's box office isn't that great. It's doing pretty good overseas, quite frankly. That's right, gamer on a budget. Margot Robbie better be careful. Dwayne Johnson is the ghost of her potential future. But yeah, it's too much. It's too much. But if Fast X made a ton of money, if Fast X were racing to $1 billion, I'd be like, fine, let's do it. But the fact that Fast X, Boab, I'm sorry, we have to stop for a second because Boab just gifted 50 memberships. That's incredible. Wow. That's going to make so many people, BTT members of the community, happy. That's right. That's right, Alice. He's a zaddy. That's incredibly generous, Boab. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And as I said, you're making a lot of people very happy because they can join the conversation now for a whole month. That's great. Thank you, Boab. All right, so I do believe that if Margot Robbie takes on the role of Sue Storm, she will become another Dwayne Johnson. That's right, the Pie Pepper. Holy memberships, Batman. I love it. So yeah, look, YouTube can't even pick them fast enough. They're like, oh, how do I give these? Oh, Boab, thank you. They're like, how do I give out these 50 memberships? All right, so yeah, so the Fast X just basically only cleared 100 million after 2 weeks. It took it that long. Its overseas is a little under half a billion. So that's pretty good. Oh, thanks, Treble. It's a cute sticker. So that's like, I mean, its overseas is still strong, but its domestic is so low. I feel like the general public is saying something, quite frankly. All right, so hold on. So let me end the poll and we'll go to the next story of the day. The poll says 68% of you just don't care. Wow, that's bad. 19% are like, just give me the last one, man. Come on. I'm almost out. Or I'm almost taking a break. Whereas only 12% of you are happy with the current plan. That is not good. I hope the budget on Hobbs 2 or whatever it is called is very low. But it's not. They're going to spend a lot of money on it. I mean, I guess Universal can afford to make some mistakes right now because they're swimming in Mario money. They're like, oh, you will get a sequel. You will get a sequel. But I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know how Dwayne Johnson talked them into it, quite frankly. I think you have, Vin Diesel. I think Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson are actually quite similar, which is maybe why they fought. But it's, that's right, John Thrasher. Mario coins. Bling, 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 bling. Lots of bling. That's hilarious. I love it. Chad says, Grace, how much would you give him? I'd tell him no. I'd say, can't you just have some amazing sequences in Fast 11? You don't need a Hobbs movie. Help me help you. Don't do it. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Second story, or does anyone have any questions about this? Just this. Do you have any questions about this story in particular? Dan says, can we say at this point that Dwayne Johnson is officially overexposed? I think so. If I were him, I would have been real quiet until Red 1, his Santa movie for later this year. I just would have kept it on the down low. Charlie says, how about a Hobbs and Shaw TV show? No, I think Dwayne's too big for TV. I think streaming movies is as low as he can go. If he keeps this up, though, he's going to find himself with a series. Subasiso says, hey, Grace, sorry to disturb the flow. Just wanted to let you know you're about pay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Subasiso. Kay Walton's ready for the boop. And then Mish said, Jennifer Lawrence did such a good thing taking a break. I agree, Mish. It was a lot of discipline, self-discipline, that she took herself off the board like that. And I thought she was right to do it. And I think she still hasn't totally come back still. But I think it gave her the best shot at coming back. We'll see how this No Hard Feelings movie does later in the month. I think it's going to do great on streaming. I don't know how it's going to do in theaters. All right. Bye, Mr. Omnisum. All right. So that's the first story of the day. The second story of the day, boop. Speaking of things that people don't want, they're still moving very quickly ahead with this live action Moana. Now, people complained about this as soon as it was announced. That's right, Frosty the Mexican Snowman. Dwayne's doing it to himself, which makes it all the more unfortunate. We feel for the guy. We're like, no, Dwayne, you're doing this. He's already very successful. It's not even like he's in the building phase, Blatino Boy says, thank you, by the way, I feel it's hard to become a famous actor because on one note, you can be forgotten if you don't put yourself out there, but also you can't be oversaturated and overexposed. That's what's happening to Dwayne Johnson. Well, I think he has a complex situation because he's not just an actor. He's also in the wrestling space. He owns a football league. He is a social media star. He owns a number of businesses. That's right, Just Josh. He's a brand. And it's hard to be a brand and an actor. An actor, because of the cycle of projects, will go away for a little bit. But Dwayne Johnson never goes away because he's constantly hustling. He's constantly selling. I think maybe he should make less movies, quite frankly. I think that he should be putting out, quite frankly, maybe one movie a year or one movie every other year or every couple of years and then keep up with the hustle. Because he's generating so much cash. He's built himself an empire, which supports not just him, but his family. I love how he still takes care of his mom. And he gives so much to charity. I love Dwayne. Dwayne is one of my favorite creations of his, which is, Dwayne Johnson as Santa. So I'm a big fan, but I feel like it's too much. It's just too much. And he doesn't have to be the face of everything that he owns. You reminded me of that when you talked about his ex-wife there, Shahar. That he and his ex-wife purchased that ex-football league or whatever it is. I know, that's true. Danielle, Ryan Reynolds did give us a break. Ryan Reynolds has a similar brand type situation. But Ryan Reynolds pulls back occasionally. And I think that's true. That's very true. But Ryan Reynolds, I think, runs into some of the same issues, to be honest with you. Devin says, Grace, you missed my super chat. Do you think this movie was conditional for Dwayne to come back for Fast X? I didn't see that. And that's a great question. It could be. But Universal shouldn't have agreed to that, quite frankly. I mean, Fast X is not doing great. So Dwayne Johnson didn't lift its box office. So, happy birthday, Jared. I hope you enjoyed The Little Mermaid. I hope you have a great time. And then Sihar says, in some ways, the slap forced the brand of Will Smith to take a hiatus. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that description of events, Sihar, because I think that the slap cut Will Smith down at the pinnacle of his career. The night that he finally won the Oscar. I mean, he was on top of the world, and he did it to himself also. But that is a very different situation. That's dealing with mental health and an abusive relationship. That's a very complex situation. Although Hollywood's going around, look at everybody wish Jared a happy birthday. Hollywood's going around forgiving heck of a lot of people. I think Will Smith should be like, where's my forgiveness? I think the problem with what Will Smith did is that everybody saw it. And so everybody feels like they were part of it instead of just hearing how it happened, I think that adds a very complex layer to it. And I still feel that if he divorced Jada Pinkett Smith, but none of my business, although he kind of made it everybody's business, I feel like that would go a long way to helping him, because it would be like, he was in such a bad space. I'm glad he got out of it. Jared saw all your birthday wishes. How nice. All right, so yeah, don't worry. Though Haunted Autumn, we are on the next story. I booped it, but we got distracted. All right, so yeah, they're doing another Moana. They're doing a live-action Moana because the live-action movies were making quite a bit of money. However, I think that because Little Mermaid has been such a disaster at the box office overseas, talk about a wake-up call, I don't know if I would make live-action Moana after that. I'd be like, I think we should take a break, I'd be like, I think the audience has spoken, even if you don't like what they're saying. Disney is, running a business primarily, and I think this Moana thing, I'm like, you are headed for some rocky waters, my friend. Go back. So they got a whole lot of problems with this thing already. It's like Lilo and Stitch, which has also been a disaster. I really hope that works out because it's so beloved. People were like, where was Moana 2? As Wesley said. People said, I want Moana 2 animated. Why am I, you are getting an animated series. That's good. Thanks, Trouble. Thank you again, Trouble. Another great sticker choice there. I'm not sure about it. I don't know if Snow White with Rachel Zegler will run into the same problems. I think there's a chance it could run into the same problems as The Little Mermaid did. I'm nervous about it. I mean, people were real clear. Although I don't think Snow White is anywhere near as beloved as Ariel. So let's do a poll. We'll do a poll for live action. How do you feel about live action Moana? Excited. Nope. Moana 2 animated, please. And then I don't want no more Moana. That would be sad if you voted for that, though. Don't do that, man. Don't vote for that. That's sad. Don't be mean to Moana. But anyway, the reason we're even talking about live action Moana is that yesterday they picked a director. They're moving fast. They're moving fast, my friends. And they picked that dude standing next to Lin-Manuel Miranda, and that is Mr. Thomas Kail. And I'm conflicted. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, by the way, was behind The Little Mermaid, the live action Little Mermaid. That did not work out for him. That blew up in his face. I really liked the movie, but it's not working out. So anyway, Thomas Kail is someone that Lin-Manuel Miranda has worked with for like a very long time, before they were both famous. They had like a rap group together, that they worked on around New York City. And then, of course, they did Hamilton together with Thomas Kail directing the original Broadway musical. Thomas Kail, while he's not nearly as name recognized as Lin-Manuel Miranda, has had a very impressive career. After Hamilton, he did Grease Live, the best live broadcast I think they've done still to this day. I was very impressed with Grease Live. He did the Fosse Verdon streaming special show on FX, where he met Michelle Williams, who he's now married to and has a child with, by the way. And then he also recently directed Sweeney Todd, which I saw. It was very good. I actually saw a BTC member when I was there. But yeah, Sweeney Todd. And so Thomas Kail is actually an incredibly strong director. I feel very good about him as a choice. This is his first movie that he's doing. But, as some of you are saying, well, I wish he was doing Hercules, quite frankly. I think, that would be a better use for his time. And also Thomas Kail, as great as he is, maybe you should get somebody who brings some authenticity to a Hawaiian story, quite frankly. I get a little nervous about that. I'd be like, what's going to give us our Hawaii street cred? It's not going to be that dude, Oh, thanks, iReady, for gifting some more memberships. That's very kind of you. While Josh Loves Movies pointed out that Guy Ritchie's is supposed to do Hercules, but it's taking so long, he might not be available anymore. I mean, sometimes when something takes that long to get off the ground, some of the deals kind of fall apart. But then also, of course, as I told you, and she confirmed, Aoi Cravajo is not returning as Moana. I knew she wouldn't. She's aged out of the role. She confirmed it. She is a producer on the movie, but if she's not that flower goddess, they can just kiss this movie goodbye, because I think that's going to be really uncool not to include her on screen. Joy says, Joy, you're the one who suggested it before, Bailey Bass is Moana? I don't know. I'd have to know about her heritage. I don't know if Bailey Bass is from Hawaii, but you better pick someone from the Pacific Islands, unless you want this thing just to completely blow up in your face. And so it needs to be somebody like that. I mean, I like Bailey Bass on the face of it, quite frankly. She was the new younger female character of the Water Tribe in Avatar too. But if she, Nick says she's not Hawaiian. If she's not Hawaiian, I'm sorry, Bailey, you're going to have to find something else to do. What did Itzanti say? Little Mermaid is not in trouble because of Miranda. The movie is good, but we don't have enough premium screens in America with the packed movie schedule. Plus people who pan without watching it. I don't agree with that, Itzante. I think that race bending the character did not work, unfortunately. Even though Halle Bailey did a wonderful job, and I just think they couldn't do a live action Little Mermaid, to be honest with you, because I told you I felt that it would have been not good with the white character because of the way the music breaks down. I just don't think it would have worked, but it didn't work. Too many people just couldn't get over it. And I'm not saying, and some people were, of course, very hateful, which was really, really unfortunate and sad. And I think anyone who was a part of that should be ashamed. But some people just, it could not cash in on the nostalgia craze, because it wasn't what people remembered. And it was, even beyond that, it was taking out some of the songs, changing the opening. It became, I thought it stood on its own, but that also meant that it was a new entity, and that undercut it. And I just, I think that all studios should focus now on new characters of color that won't have to deal with this, because it's not fair to the actors, it's not fair to the fans, and it's too horrible to go through. KK says, I'm interested in seeing how the live action will turn out, but I think another animated would have been fine. And Justin says, the live action Moana has the potential to be Pacific Islander Black Panther. I don't know. Nobody wants it, though. Nobody wants it, you know? And is it really? I mean, it's like a kid's movie. Whereas I think Black Panther was something that appealed to all ages more. How do you feel about live action Moana? 64% of you want a new Moana animated. 24% of you don't want any more Moana. And just 10% of you are excited for the live action Moana. Oh, that's rough. I personally thought Moana was only okay as a movie. But I do know a number of people who love the music to Moana. I mean, they just love it. They listen to it on repeat. You know, I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs for Little Mermaid didn't deliver in the same way, I'm afraid. You know, it was not another Moana. It wasn't an Encanto. And by the way, those are two original stories. So, I don't know. I'm just very nervous about the live action Moana. I was nervous about it before Little Mermaid came out, but now that Little Mermaid's out, I'm like, I don't know, man. I think, you know, and is Dwayne Johnson going to have long hair like that? He doesn't look like the animated character. I'm just very nervous about it. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I'm nervous. I hope it works out. All right, Gigi, we're talking about Nico Parker, and that's a great way to go into this. Gigi has a great question about that, which is a perfect segue. So, boom, baby. Third story of the day. And Gigi says, do you think that Nico Parker as Astrid will make How to Train Your Dragon suffer the same fate as The Little Mermaid? I hope not. I think there's arguments as to why it won't. I'm nervous about it. Let me ask you. I'll ask you while we vote. Okay, while we talk. All right. So we'll say love it, hate it, and then have to see it. All right, so let's discuss this. We're trying to have a mature conversation about this. All right, now first let me first talk to you about what's going on. So they're making a live action How to Train Your Dragon, with Universal taking a page out of Disney's playbook and saying, hey, why don't we do live action version of our animated movies, like How to Train Your Dragon? So the other day they announced they had cast Hiccup and Astrid with Mason Thames from The Black Phone, the lead in The Black Phone, as our new Hiccup, and then Nico Parker from The Last of Us as Astrid. Now, Nico Parker is also, thank you very much, Thandiwe Newton's daughter. And Thandiwe Newton was so freaking good in Westworld as an action heroine. If her daughter is even just a fraction of that good, it's going to be amazing. So I'm excited about that. I think it's a great choice. Also, I'd also like to point out that even though Astrid's character in the animated movies was blonde and seemingly Caucasian, America Ferrera voiced the character. So I think that makes things a little bit more complex. And so to me, it seems fine. It seems fine to me. What I would say, KK says, honestly, a How to Train Your Dragon live action should not even be in the works. I don't think it will do well. I mean, let's see. I have to see what the action sequences look like. And Heather says, Vikings is a lifestyle historically. Vikings have a complex DNA. I have Viking DNA, and I'm a brunette. They need to get over it. I never thought about anybody complaining about the Viking situation. I mean, the How to Train Your Dragon movies are already diverse to a degree, so I don't think there would be a situation. And also, the Vikings did a lot of pillaging. You know, I'm having a hard time not thinking there wouldn't be some, situation there where they had a little bit of diversity. I think, and as for Nico Parker, she is, I believe, mixed ethnicity. The only thing that I see coming up, potentially, and I've seen this complaint from others, is that in Hollywood, in an effort to cast the widest net possible, okay, in terms of appeal to audiences is doing a lot of interracial couples. Now, I think it's interesting, it was great to have that representation in the beginning, okay? However, I've seen a lot of people say that it's always usually a white male character with a female character of color. And that is creating a real lack of representation for male characters of color. And so I can understand that. I can understand that complaint, which is why Miles Morales is so important. And so I think that that's kind of a situation that's being created by Hollywood inadvertently. So I think that's the only potential complaint I can see coming out of this. But to me, I think this is good casting. I think this seems good casting to me. I really love the original voice cast of Jay Baruchel, America Ferrera, and Gerard Butler, amongst others. And it is going to be weird not to have Hiccup have the very distinct voice of Jay Baruchel, to be honest with you. So I hope that he is involved in the live-action movie in some way. Dean DeBlois is directing, and he did the animated as well. He, by the way, is LGBT, openly LGBT, and so I do wonder if he will incorporate that into the live-action movie at all, as he did in some of the later chapters of the animated movie. No, Charlie, I don't think that an actor like Mason Thames would take a role where they didn't use his voice. I just don't think you can do that. Avanish says, why can't they just make How to Train Your Dragon story sequel into live-action transition with original voice actors? I think because they want to do the nostalgia factor. They want to have the scene where you find Hiccup for the first, where Hiccup finds Toothless for the first time, stuff like that. It would be, I think, maybe a little, oh, that's funny, Charlie. I'm glad you were just kidding. But yeah, Cosmic says it's weird that film Twitter is not going after Universal, but when Disney, a lot of people get mad. I feel How to Train Your Dragon isn't as big a brand. But also I think there's a sense of unfairness a little bit in terms of, why some, and I think this is in a number of situations. I think there seems to be a lack of consistency in who's held accountable and who isn't. But let's see. Let's see what happens. What did Lisa say? Lisa says, I read somewhere that it was tested with a group of people that are less, so Lisa read that there was a case study done where less people are offended by seeing a white man and a black woman together, and they did not like seeing the reverse. That's horrible. I think that the entertainment is getting very complex, and I think it's important for everybody to be represented up on screen who is in the audience. I think it's also important, though, to be open to other people's stories. I do think they need to work on more representation for male characters of color. I would agree with that. And then Chandler has an interesting comment saying, I think the interracial complaint centers, Chandler thinks the interracial complaint centers around how people of color need to be adopted by their white counterparts to be accepted. This is a complex situation that, obviously I can't totally speak to, and also I think at some point you're going to reach a situation where audiences of color don't feel represented sometimes by some lighter skinned individuals. Colorism is a huge issue in Hollywood, quite frankly, as it should be. I feel very bad for Lupita Nyong'o, who has spoken, and Viola Davis, about having a harder time getting work than other actresses of color who are lighter skinned, and it's just horrible. So this is like a very complex situation. I think that Dungeons and Dragons tried to be a diverse film, but had very, very light-skinned actors, and so I think as a result, really wasn't as representative as perhaps it had hoped to be. Alawatch says, I hope it comes out before the Universal Park opens. How to Train Your Dragon Land. You mean, in Florida, the new theme park. Forget Visiting World. You want dragons. I do love the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. I think it's great. You want a Emperor's New Groove jumper? Thandaway Newton as Yzma is actually not bad. That's not bad, actually. Jennifer says, it's just disheartening that we're still having these issues in 2023. I think so. I think it is disheartening. To me, the biggest problem is that people aren't open to other people's stories. That concerns me because movies and entertainment have classically opened people up to different perspectives. But if you're not willing to consider other perspectives, I think that's going to really close a lot of people off. And so, I mean, I've long believed and have said that I think that Barack Obama being elected president was, the way for that was paved by seeing, black actors playing the president on movies and television shows. 24, Morgan Freeman had been playing the president. And being very popular, their versions of the president. And so I think that opened up people's minds to that possibility. And so Hollywood plays like a really important part in that, whether they want to or not. All right, so let me close the poll. Hold on. Oh, here we go. So Nico Parker, 51% have to see it. I would be against her dyeing her hair blonde, by the way. Unless... I don't know. It would not sit right with me. I think that it would seem like Nico Parker looks great the way that she is. I do not think she needs to do that. But let's see what they decide to do. Again, I guess I'd have to see it. And I guess it's not up to me to decide, quite frankly, how I feel about it. The real issue would you be able to get audiences of color to see the movie if they made that choice? 31% love the casting and only 16% hate it. But 16% is not small. I see, unfortunately, the beginnings of another situation online. But even though America Ferrera voiced the character, that seems odd to me. But, people, that's the danger of the nostalgia game. People want what they remember. People want what they remember. So they remember Astrid the way she looks, not the way she necessarily sounds. Maybe they should have just done How to Train Your Dragon with different characters, quite frankly. That probably would have been the better way to go. I hope they're not spending too much money on this. But and again, I don't want to put Nico Parker through this. I don't like what Halle Bailey had to suffer through. And you can see the contrast with Miles Morales, with people. I don't know if it's just because it's not a Disney movie, quite frankly. But people are being very supportive of Miles Morales, and that's great in my opinion. And I think, the tickets are really selling. So I'm excited about that. Let's see how Across the Spider-Verse does globally, which, I think is the big stumbling block. So we'll see what they decide to do. Dakota says the blonde hair would make a bit similar to House of the Dragon. Well, no, but that's the white hair of House of the Dragon, I think is more distinct and more of a thing of a genetic marker to that family specifically. Whereas you don't want it to seem like white passing, I think that's where it becomes problematic. Gigi says, and it's the third change of color of female characters in a short period of time, with Ariel, Astrid, and Annabeth. What do you mean? Who's Annabeth? What character did they change there? I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. It's really tough, and I don't like these actresses having to deal. Oh, Percy Jackson, thank you. Yeah, I feel bad for that actress. I think that's not going to be fun for her either. It's just really unfortunate. I don't think studios should put these actors. It's usually an actress. And again, although the way that some of the male actors of color had to suffer in The Lord of the Rings, and that was not even. I don't think did they change specific characters for that. It's tough. Oh, look, Chris just discovered that he got a membership. Yeah, people were gifting up a storm today. It was beautiful, Chris. I'm so glad that you benefited from it. Kevin says, what's with all the changing of all the race spending lately? Well, it's because Hollywood wants to, people of color have become a huge movie-going audience block, which really can have an effect on the box office. So Hollywood wants, and also they've stood up for themselves and said, we're not interested in stories that don't include us, particularly big blockbusters. And that's very understandable. That's why some of you don't want to watch Indiana Jones or Back to the Future. So Hollywood's trying to change that. But the best way they can think of doing it, because Hollywood is risk averse, is instead of creating new characters, they go and they take characters that already existed and they change them. And I can understand the impetus behind that, but it's not working. Just like they don't want to see male characters change to female. Nobody wants to see a woman take over James Bond. Nobody wants to see a woman take over Indiana Jones. Hollywood's just going to have to start taking risks, whether they like it or not, because this just isn't working. I mean, look at how much everybody loves Din Djarin and all the characters of The Mandalorian, right? because that's new. Let's see here. Joelle says, just got a call during your live that I've been hired at New York Blood Center to be a research assistant. Oh, you were so excited you wanted to share the news with us. Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful. That was worth an interruption. Congratulations. And then Aylwin says, love how Grace is handling these kinds of discussions. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. I want to make sure that I'm respectful. I want to make sure, but I also want to make sure that I'm honest, because I think that, and that's the only thing that helps these conversations and helps representation move forward. I deeply believe in representation. But just like I talked about the LGBT representation, movies like Birds of Prey hurting that situation, this doesn't help the communities that are hungry for representation if you do a bad job. It sets them back. And that's really bad. So I don't like seeing that either. So it's really tough. Hey, Zay. I appreciate that. So I'm glad you guys think that I'm doing a good job handling this conversation, because that's very important to me. Does anybody have any questions about How to Train Your Dragon? And then we shall go on to the Q&A. We're in Q&A time, baby. We're almost there. Does anybody have any questions about How to Train Your Dragon? Fachuli says, Astrid as a character isn't in the books, just the movies. So Astrid not being white is just being different from the animated movies and is not contradicting the source material. Doesn't matter. The movies is how everybody knows it. Same with, even some people make an argument that Hermione was intended to be a character of color. Doesn't matter. The only thing matters is how most people see the character, and that's locked in. Ross says, LGBT representation in film has gone down the drain in recent years. In TV, it's a different story. Yes, TV is doing a great job. And TV streaming, by the way, is also where women first flourished with better roles and representation. So I do believe LGBT characters will get there. And also, I think some actors coming out would be beneficial to the cause, but at the same time, that's a lot to ask of them. So I don't want to ask that of anybody who isn't ready. J.A., that's right. We didn't make enough of a big deal that Mason Thames in The Black Phone was excellent. He's a very good actor. I think he's a great choice. I also like they're a little older. They're not like little kids. I thought Percy Jackson went too young. I know it's from the books, but I think it's going to limit its audience. I think this older cast is going to help this movie a lot. Navy EMT says, Miles Morales is a new character. He is not Peter Parker. I suspect that's why it works. Me too. And it's out of the gate, it was difficult because some people tried to claim that it was just a race bending of Peter Parker. And we were all like, no, it's a new character. And I think, thank goodness, the first movie made that clear finally. Danielle, hi, Danielle. Danielle says, here's an example. Danielle is 42 and grew up only watching Caucasian characters on TV and movies. I would love for my nieces and nephews to see themselves. Danielle, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I think representation is so important. And I saw something on Twitter today where some woman was complaining about race-bending Ariel because the representation had meant so much to her as a redhead when she was little. And people, countered, I think, with a very compelling argument, like Danielle is saying, you yourself are acknowledging how important representation is. Don't you then therefore understand how important it is for children of color to see themselves on screen? And that's totally true. And they don't deserve to have to be going through these very difficult, heated arguments. It should just be a celebration, which is why I'm so happy for the Miles situation. Although I have seen some people in the Black community complaining about Miles and Gwen being a couple. Because, again, they're looking for, people want to see all kinds of relationships, I think, represented on screen. I think that's the best way to state it. But yeah, I think that's another reason they're doing a lot of race bending to that earlier question. And that's because for so long, people of color weren't in the creative space, tragically, and their stories weren't being told. So when you reach back to do the nostalgia play, like when you look at even older comics, all the characters are white. And so you're like, well, how are you going to do the representation? And I think the answer is becoming more and more clear. You come up with a new character. Really. You don't race bend Jimmy Olsen for the gabillionth time. You introduce somebody new who works at the Daily Planet. That's what you do. Okay, I have some other comments here I got to get to. Hold on. I'm getting to them. Oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Oh, wow. Very generous. Okay, hold on. Seattle Law Nerd, thank you for that generous, very generous donation. So with diversity still a part of the entertainment space discussion, wanted to just put some love out into the world. You did. Thank you for having a site and a space that celebrates and supports everyone. Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. That is so important to me. And thank you, all of you who want to be a part of it and have that conversation. And to all of you who do it respectfully. That really means a lot. Alexander says, I'm back from the EU, and why we have to see cheap clones of white stories and not original, beautiful black stories. I can see what you're saying there, Alexander, and I think that's what we're speaking about. Yeah, original stories, I think, is the path forward. Lecky says, Moana is not supposed to be a Hawaiian character. Majority of the cultural aspects of her movie were not Hawaiian, and as a Pacific Islander, it is saddening to see that all these cultures are being lost. Thank you for pointing that out. My apologies. I think it's because Disney uses the character so extensively with like their Hawaiian resort and the Polynesian village, which I guess actually does not represent Hawaii either. But yeah, I really would love to see more of the Pacific Islander cultures represented. That's something that, they were trying to do with the casting of Jason Momoa as Aquaman. And I would love for the Moana movie, one of the things about these live action adaptations is they add more depth and nuance to these stories. And that would be great if the live action Moana did that. All right, next up, hold on. Richard Montano says, what would it take to get a Discord server for us, Grace? I've decided not to do that because I can't look at that space, and so I don't want to have a conversation being taken place in my name that I have given the stamp of approval that I can't keep an eye on. So I appreciate your enthusiasm for that, but we're having the conversations in the live streams. I work really hard to have a very interactive live stream, and so I think that's where the conversation's taking place. But thank you again, though, for thinking of that. Marvin J says, hey, Grace, you said it's offensive if a white mermaid dances to Caribbean music, but Halle Bailey is not Caribbean. She is African American. She has no Caribbean accent. Well, no, of course, Marvin, of course there are, but I think at that point, then you start to get to, but I don't know. It depends, again, how audiences feel. But that's like starting to say, like, if, even if when you were casting Caucasian actors, they would have to have heritage from the region that you're portraying. Like, Joaquin Phoenix, if he's going to play Napoleon, is he French? Does he come from French ancestry? To me, that's going too far. But, it's what how the audience feels, which is what ultimately makes the decision. Do people pay to see that movie? Alawatch said, had Jerry and Roman not had a falling out, would Jerry... Well, we're getting off the subject. We'll go to the Q&A in a minute. Are all your questions? Okay, so hold on. Mate says, I really like representation as a Latin woman, but I also love originality. And Encanto had both. Yeah, that's a perfect example. More Encantos for sure. Bartleby says, what Spider-Man comics or lore would you recommend for normies before seeing Across the Spider-Verse? Bartleby, you're so generous. You already gifted a lot of memberships. Here you are again. I think that you should read, the Spider-Man, he had a Spider-Verse story a couple of years ago. I think that's worth checking out. I would read the early Miles Morales comics by Brian Michael Bendis. I gotta tell you, there's so much, I honestly don't feel you're gonna be able to catch up before you see the movie, like in the next day or so. So just kind of be open to it. And I would tell you to appreciate the artistry and the celebration of just comic books in general that will get you past maybe some of the things you don't get. Your little brother Gabriel says, Raya and the Last Dragon tried to represent more Pacific Islander heritage, but it wasn't successful. Yeah, that's true. That was more, though, I don't know if it was Pacific Islander as much as like Southeast Asia. Isn't that different than the Pacific Islands, right? I loved that movie. I thought it was great. Iceman 3000 says, I do think few characters should get the opportunity to come out and be interpreted how they would have been if the world was different. Well, that's what you have multiverse for. That's where multiverse stories can be used really effectively. And while I appreciate those sorts of explorations, it seems that our numbers are small. So maybe that's better for the streaming space. Look at Tom. Tom gifted a membership. That's so kind of you. Any kind of generosity is so appreciated. You're a sweetheart, Tom. All right, let's go on to the Q&A now. I think we covered that. All right, Q&A section time, baby. You can ask me anything you want. Let me go back to that question that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. All right, hold on. I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, where is it? Oh my God, why YouTube? Let me go through the questions. Let me go through the questions. Was it this one? No. Where'd it go? Oh, darn it. I'm sorry. That's what happens if you don't wait. Sometimes it causes a problem. I'm sorry. All right, regular Q&A. 10 minutes. Whew, it's late. I'm going to be up late tonight. Again, it's 6:43. I'll answer anything you want until 6:53. All right, hold on. Print Zodiac says, "Hey Grace, why is Hollywood taking so long to release movies? I don't remember waiting so long between hearing and seeing films." Well, I think they're messing a lot of them up, to be honest with you. I think they're also still recovering from the pandemic. I also think they're getting a little ahead of themselves with announcements, and then they get locked in on release dates, and they're like, why? So I think that's pretty bad. I think it's a complex situation. Earthbound Man 5 says, "Hey everyone, I got a gifted membership. Your enthusiasm just makes me so happy. I love it. I'm glad you did." Away says, "I'm just glad Nico is getting more roles," as in Nico Parker. "I was amazed by her performance as Sarah more than I ever felt about the video game version." She was great, yeah. And the video game version, as Away points out, was very good. But yeah, I'm a big Nico Parker fan, especially because I've become a huge Thandaway Newton fan, her mother, thanks to Westworld. Wanda's attorney says, "Hey Grace, several of the big scoopers today teased something related to Scarlet Witch's Road is coming." I have heard about that. I will fill you in, Wanda's attorney. Well, what I heard is that instead of Children's Crusade, Agatha Coven of Chaos is basically the Witch's Road storyline. So it's a giant side mission, which I don't feel great about, but hopefully when we see it, we'll feel better about it. But that's basically what it is. I don't think anybody wanted that or asked for it. I found out who Aubrey Plaza is. I'm not going to ruin it, but dial down your expectations. Dial them down. People who are like, "Oh, it's a character that's so powerful that everyone's heard of, even if you don't read comics." No. I mean, like, maybe technically, but they're just setting themselves up for disappointment. That's the danger of spoilers. Particularly when you have irresponsible scoopers who will hype things up for the sake of a click, but very much at the expense of the project itself. I'm worried about Agatha. All right. Tammy says, "Hey Grace, do you think the studios overexpose movies too early and cause poor numbers in reviews?" Just what we're talking about. "I went into Spider-Verse with only having seen the trailer and it was an awesome experience." Well, it's tough, Tammy. Because sometimes the movie, people don't show up. People don't show up to see it, and then they freak out because they spent so much money on it. Budget perspective. So I think it's a balancing act, and that's why it's so important to hire good PR people who can do that. Frosty the Mexican Snowman said, where'd it go? Oh, I really got skipped ahead here. Steam Music, thank you for gifting a membership. Even one membership, you make someone's day, so it's very kind of you. Steam Music says, "Hey Grace, I just wanted to say I love the channel from all the way back to 2011. Yay! I'm glad you're enjoying today's video. There's, I got too far ahead. YouTube. Why? Frosty the Mexican Snowman says, "It's important that they cast a live action Miles that is Afro-Latino. It is just too important. Spider-Man, as in Miles Morales, has a huge Latino fan base." Couldn't agree more. Every time we suggest somebody for Miles Morales who is not Afro-Latino, the comments come flooding in. People feel very strongly about this, and I would not make that mistake if I were Sony. Boab, more generosity, says, "Hey Grace, tomorrow is my birthday. And I really love being a member of the BTT community, and I try to give back some of the positivity that I get from you in the community." Boab, the fact that being part of this community means so much to you and that you would want to give back to it in such a positive way, you could not say or demonstrate something nicer. Not just to me, but everybody else in the community. So, wow. And happy birthday! There'll be a stream tomorrow. I don't know if you'll be able to make it, but happy birthday in advance. I hope you have a great day planned. Cosmic says, "Will you be covering Summer Game Fest? Mortal Kombat gameplay and some surprises?" I am going to try and cover it. I do have some stuff going on that day. What time of the day is it? Hold on, wait a minute. It's at 3 p.m., so I might be able to cover it. I think I'm going to try and cover it. I think I will. I do want to see that Mortal Kombat gameplay trailer. All right, let's see here. Kay Walton, I never watched the Spider-Man 2 gameplay trailer, especially because I was a little upset that I didn't react to it. I was disappointed in myself. Ivan Sarmiento says, thoughts on the Dua Lipa Barbie song. I haven't listened to it. I don't like the Barbie dolls, though. They don't look anything like the actors. Wasn't happy. Nuno says, thoughts on the Ted Lasso last episodes. They made me fall in love with the show again. The second to last episode did. I loved the second to last episode, Mom City. I thought that was great. I liked the little Sound of Music musical number they did in the finale, but I actually did not care for the finale. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I felt it was just too much of a wrap-up, you know, and like checking boxes. And I didn't like the way Ted's story ended, to be honest with you. All right, Travis Parkerly says, sorry if I missed this. Are you doing a Spider-Verse spoiler review? I am, Travis. I filmed it, and I'm going to edit it as soon as we're done here. Alice says, daisies or dandelions? Which do you prefer? Oh, that's interesting. I'm not a big fan of either of those two flowers, but if I had to pick between the two, I'd have to go with daisies because they're a classic. Writer Boy says, excited for Deadpool 3. How should Storm be introduced? My idea. Deadpool losing a violent fight, and Storm arrives in a flash of lightning, saving the day, taking the air out of all the baddies' lungs. That's right. She never really used that ability. I don't know how I feel about that ability, though. Jamie Isaac Choi says, thoughts about Ted Lasso finale. Would you like a spin-off? I don't know. I think you should just let it end. Just let it be a great show. I wouldn't do a spin-off, to be honest with you. Your little brother Gabriel says, Grace, what did you think about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trailer? I loved it. I'm sorry I didn't get to react to it, but I did like it quite a bit. That movie looks absolutely charming to me. But the animation is so similar to Spider-Verse that I think that it takes a little bit away from Ninja Turtles. Frosty Salt says, do you know if the Little Mermaid series, did you know that in the Little Mermaid animated series, there was a deaf Latina mermaid named Gabriella? She was so cool and a great friend for Ariel. I've never seen that show, but I did see some pictures of her online recently. And I think that's great. I think that, I don't know if that's the representation that that audience would be totally looking for. But, it's cool that that character was so popular. Let's see here. I think that the hints about today were actually about Agatha Coven of Chaos, Azen, as I recently talked about just a few minutes ago. That Witch's Road is actually what Agatha Coven of Chaos is about. VTTV says, can we do a more lighthearted stream tomorrow? Yes, I think we're probably going to talk about Spider-Man stuff tomorrow. Ryan Deloney says, hey, Grace, are you surprised by the lukewarm reaction to Elemental? I worry Pixar hasn't had a successful original movie in theaters since Coco. Well, John Lasseter did have to go. Horrible stories about him. But I don't think they've done a good job replacing him. Still some work to do over at Pixar. Asami says, hey, Grace, today is my 20th birthday, and I've just seen The Little Mermaid. How great. Every time I hear a story like that, it makes me so happy, and I see how important this stuff is, and I feel bad the way it went down. But Asami says, it was so much better than I thought. I'm also seeing Spider-Man tomorrow, and I can't wait. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Asami. You too. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day, and what a fantastic back-to-back showing of movies there. Ethan says, why hasn't Marvel or DC created a brand new live-action character without having to adapt someone from the comics so it's brand new for everyone? They're scared, Ethan. They're scared. They don't want to take the risk. And I think that they're going to have to at some point. Justin says, Grace, what is the difference between screenplay by versus story by? Asking for Christina Hodson being credited for screenplay only on The Flash. Glad you asked, Justin. Screenplay is whoever wrote the actual screenplay with the dialogue and the scene descriptions and stuff like that. Story by is the person who did the outline, who came up with the idea for the story. That's what the story is, but they didn't write the actual script. So that's the difference. And I told you Phil Lord and Chris Miller came up with the idea for the Flash, clearly. You'll see that once you see Across the Spider-Verse. Aubrey Plaza is not Mephisto. Somebody else is Mephisto. Gamer on a Budget says, what do you think of this cast for Fantastic Four? Well, we'll be finding out, I think, at Comic-Con who the Fantastic Four are, but Gamer on a Budget says Carey Mulligan or Keira Knightley for Sue Storm and Dylan O'Brien or Colton Hayes for Johnny Storm. I like Carey Mulligan, but I just don't think that she has a big fan base. So I'm afraid that's not for me, Gamer on a Budget, but I appreciate you sharing your theories. Juan Carlos says, hi Grace, just wanted to say thank you for everything. God bless you and maybe being a little evil. I'm having McNuggets right now. Aww. Also, have any tea regarding Kate Bishop? Love Hallie and want to see more. I haven't heard anything about Kate Bishop in a while. I don't know when she's coming back, I'm afraid. AJ Linky says, hey Grace, happy to catch a live stream. You're the reason I've been taking a big interest in the film business. Oh, yay. Have you heard any updates on the Clue remake? I'm afraid nothing. I think Ryan Reynolds is busy with other stuff. Owlwatch says, I hope Apollo and Midnighter depict a different type of gay couple in the media. They seem pretty hardcore guys. The last unique gay character was the guy from Downton Abbey who was kind of a bad guy. That's right, but he had a happy ending. I ended up really liking Thomas. Yeah, I hope they do it right with Midnighter and Apollo. I think that, I wrote a gay superhero couple in my comic book Superbia, and what was most important to me was depicting them as people first. And I think that's the case with any group you're trying to represent, people first. But at the same time, don't make light of the importance of that representation. Rena says, happy Pride Month and great community. Thank you, Rena. I'm glad you feel that way. Four-dimensional space whale. What a name. Says, would you recommend IMAX for Spider-Verse or regular theatrical viewing? I gotta tell you, this movie is so all over the place visually and so busy that I would actually see it on a regular screen, because you're gonna be like, looking all over the place, and you're gonna be like, where am I? It's gonna be hard to follow. So I would see it on a regular screen, quite frankly. Last I heard, Aubrey Plaza was not Morgan Le Fay. I mean, maybe it'll be a last-minute fake-out, but not Morgan Le Fay. Wandering Seth says, could KJ Appa make a good Johnny Storm? Nah, I don't think he's like the kind of brand that we're looking for. Let's see here. Lucas Barbosa, thanks for joining. Oh, somebody guessed who Aubrey Plaza is playing. Somebody guessed it, but I won't say who. Oh yeah, I went way over my time. I love talking to you guys. That's right, Bay F. I love talking to you guys. All right, so that's the end of the Q&A. Let me just do a couple of shout outs. What are you doing? What's going on, everybody? What are you up to? How's it going? Oh, another person you guys are starting to see. Thomas says, hi Grace, my wife and I are finishing the evening with a glass of scotch. Aw, I'm so glad you're watching together. Hello, Thomas. And I don't know your wife's name, Mrs. Arfert. Oasis, sorry for the extravagant display of tiny dancing men. Just wanted to know your favorite Swizzle song other than The Man. Oh, you mean my, I've been listening a lot to Blank Space. I heard someone playing it like on a go-kart in the street the other day, one of those like pedal carts. And I looked it up and I was like, I'm going to listen to that. And I also like Anti-Hero. Dancing Dog 60, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. That's so kind of you. Danny is standing Margot Robbie in Chicago. I'm sure she appreciates that. Let's see here. Kelsey is cooking a pork roast. Delicious. Bye, Heather. Have a great day. Let's see here. Sidhu says, should we send our Spider-Verse pics for Movie Math this weekend? No, I'm not going to do a ticket thing, I'm afraid. I love to see your pictures if you want to send it to me, but I won't be using them in Movie Math. And I did not care for the Barry finale, I'm afraid. Art Lover went to see The Little Mermaid and loved it. I'm so happy to hear that. Michael sold one of my Etsy coffee cups to an Oscar-winning actress today. Oh, and look at you sharing the love here. That's very generous of you. That's so cool that you knew who it was. Oh, that's awesome, Michael. When she reads her scripts to consider if she wants to be in them or learn her lines, she'll be drinking from your cup. Manny's about to go into Spider-Man. Have a great time. You're going to love it. The Pie Pepper Guy says, cleaning up after maintaining my newly planted pepper garden. Oh, I love it. I love the branding, Pie Pepper Guy, in New Bedford. Oh, Charlie, did I miss your super chat? Hold on. I don't see it. I don't see it, I'm afraid. Oh, John Thrasher, I'm glad you would like to read my comic. Thank you. It's called Superbia, and all the episodes are available on Comixology. And if you're a Comixology member, they're available at no extra cost. Let's see here. Shahar says, if anyone can send good wishes to my dad, he may need surgery to replace his pacemaker. Well, I'm glad he's getting the help that he needs, and he is seeing a doctor. I'm glad he caught it. And of course, we'll all send good wishes to your father. He has you there helping him out, which is awesome. Michael, you're having a day. First you sold a mug, now you're off to see Spider-Verse. I love it. Let's see here. Uncle Baby Billy, you're bad. Seattle Law Nerd says, thank you. Go do something fabulous. Again, very generous. Thanks. Being with you guys is fabulous for me, and I'm going to be editing videos this evening. But I'm very happy to. I have great videos for you. Yoram says, hi, Grace, watching CNN. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're catching up on the news. Danny, where's your super chat? I don't see it. Oh, Danny says, Grace, will Matt Reeves use Harley? I want to see Anya Taylor-Joy with our Pats. I haven't heard anything about Matt Reeves' stuff lately. I hope so. She'd be a great Harley for him. Thanks, Junior Jangles. I like calling this an Elvis curve. That's great. I love it. Thank you. That's awesome. VTV says, you missed my super chat, but I basically said that live-action Miles Morales is a bad idea because the animated character is so popular that they would be hard to top. I agree. Tread carefully, Amy. Pascal, tread carefully. Charlie said my super chat was... Happy 3 years to us. Oh, yay! You're such a constant source of optimism in my life. It's always fixed my mood to watch a Grace video at the end of the day. Charlie, that makes it all worthwhile. I'm so glad that you feel that way, and I'm really glad that I can do that for you. The importance of being able to have something to pick up your mood is crucial, and that I can be that for you means a lot. Dustin says, you missed my chat, but I'm getting ready for an ice cream party to watch the spelling bee. Oh, living it up. I love it. Mike Drop says, still working on my showroom in Vegas. Everyone invited when I'm done. Oh, that's great, though. I'm glad you're working along on it. And Rashad says, watching with my boyfriend in Vegas, eating strawberries and caramel. Oh, I've never heard of that combination, but it sounds delicious. Happy Pride Month to you, too, Rashad, and to you and your boyfriend. And Alawatch says, I'm halfway through the year. It's halfway through the year. Will you be doing best movies and shows? I will, but at the end of June. At the end of June. I always usually like to air them during the 4th of July holiday because it gives me evergreen content. Jennifer says, I'm lying in bed. It's almost midnight here in Nigeria. You painted such a cozy picture. Thanks for staying up with us, Jennifer. And then Dancing Dog 60 says, getting set for game 1 of the NBA Finals. Ooh, yeah. Love it. And then VTTV says, trying to convince my non-Spider-Man fan sister to come with me to see Spider-Verse. Tell her you'll get her snacks for her. And Panda Ray says, hi, Grace, watching from Scotland, playing games. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. You guys are great. Well, I better get going. So these videos go up today. I had a lovely time talking to you, as always, and tomorrow's live stream, because I have things I have to go to tomorrow, will definitely be at noon. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. I love you guys. Bye-bye.